Hi, it's Nathan. Section 536 through 576 of the Model WHS regulations cover major hazard facilities. So a major hazard facility is a facility that has substances that exceed the thresholds listed in Schedule 15 of the regulations. So think refineries, bulk fuel depots, gas processing facilities, that sort of stuff. So the early sections cover some definitions. First of all, what is a major incident? Major incident being a uncontrolled event that exposes people to the risk of serious injury or illness. Uncontrolled events, things like spills, leaks, explosions. Then it defines who the operator of the facility is, and it defines the operator as the person or the business that has control to shut it down. And then if there's multiple parties with that power to shut it down, it basically says that they have to nominate one to be nominated as the operator, and they then need to notify the regulator of that. It also has a definition for any modification, which is basically any change that increases risk at the facility. So that's very broad. Next section talks about notifications to the regulator. It says that the regulator needs to be notified once the facility reaches 10% of that threshold. So even though that's a very small percentage of that threshold, the idea being that the regulator gets notification sooner rather than later, and that the regulator can actually make a determination as to whether that facility is going to be treated as a major hazard facility before it even reaches that threshold. So if you're at 30 or 40%, the regulator can say, hey, well, no, we're going to actually make it so that you're subject to these regulations now. The next sections cover the safety case. So the safety case is basically a document or a document that explains to the regulator how we're going to make sure we run this facility safely. So it's kind of like making a case to the government that, hey, you know, we can do this safely, and the government needs to approve it before the facility can proceed. So it'll cover a risk assessment of all the major hazards that are expected, and then how we're going to manage that. Next, the sections talk about risk management. So it has requirements to do a safety assessment to identify what major incidents could occur, and then how we're going to prevent those from happening, including having a safety management system in place. It's got requirements for the safety management system, which are kind of similar to like the ISO 45001 standard. Things like having a policy, change management, control procedures. There's also specific requirements for the consultation of workers, which is kind of in addition to the general, Section 47 of the Act consultation. It's in addition to that, so workers need to be involved in consultation for the safety case, the safety assessment, which is part of the risk management and building the safety system, and during any reviews or modifications. It's also got role of workers in operating the facility. So workers have some more legal duties in addition to their general legal duties under the Act, and they are that they need to implement any procedures that they need to prevent a major incident occurring. There's also some other specific requirements for like emergency management, saying that the emergency procedures need to be developed in consultation with emergency procedures. There's other requirements around community notifications, also managing risk, not just within the facility itself, but to the surrounding areas. And then the final sections cover the licensing process. There's a bunch of sections covering how the application and licensing process works, and cancellations, modifications, all that sort of stuff, and transfer. Hope that helps.